So this is probably going to be sort of a brain dump type of episode. I was kind of dealing with a bunch of shit, like letting this negativity get all in my head. And I thought I might just kind of share what I was thinking and sort of the solution to the problem, at least my thoughts on how to solve it and why to solve it. Maybe that might resonate with some of you that are dealing with some similar things. So one thing that's been happening is I've been just like letting the negative thoughts take over, and it's weird because like I talk about this kind of shit all the time, and it's like why it makes me realize like there's certain problems that are never going to go away. You just need to learn you need to get all the tools and remember to use them and all this kind of shit. So my whole thing, and I think I've dealt with this for a long time, is allowing negative thoughts to creep in. And it's always this like, what if this shit happens and what if that shit happens? And, you know, things like that. And those kind of things just aren't really, there's no real reason. I mean, it's things that are out of my control. And I've talked about that with stoicism and all these kind of things. So it's a little bit confusing to where like you can do all this work and learn all these things, but it doesn't actually solve the problem. It just gives you the tools to address it. So what's been happening for me, a lot of it is like business and like the state of the world and the economy and all of this different shit. And sort of as an entrepreneur and having team members and seeing all this stuff that's happening in the world, it's creating, it's kind of a strong word, but it's somewhat of a hopeless feeling. I don't know if that's the right word or not, but that's kind of what it feels like. You know, it feels like no matter what I do, no matter how hard I work, this thing's going to happen and everything's going to go to shit. And no matter what I do, this thing's going to happen and everything's going to go to shit. And so the further along I get in my business, you know, I have people that are relying on me. I have people that I bring in, you know, right now, we have 10 people on our team, including me. So no, I'm sorry. It's 11. So it's like, if everything goes to shit, all those people are out of work and they all have to find new jobs. And that's very stressful. And then, you know, with the cost of materials and all these kind of things going up, and literally everything is more expensive now. So profit margins are smaller. We need to kind of raise prices, all these kind of things. I don't want to get too far into all of that kind of stuff because that's not really what I wanted to talk about. But the point is like the more I grow in business, the more pressure there is. And that's what it's to be expected. Like I signed up for this shit. Like I'm not complaining about it, but at the same time, I'm trying to find a way to not get overwhelmed all the time. And so what's been happening is the negative what ifs have really completely taken over to where I'm just like unhappy pretty much all day. Unless we have like a really good day, then all of a sudden I'm feeling really good. And I'm like, oh shit, yeah, everything's good now. And then, you know, the next day, maybe the sales are really low and I kind of sink right back into that. And that itself is probably very counterproductive as well. But so what's been happening is that negativity has been building up, all these kind of what ifs and stress and all this stuff. And I've been just allowing that to kind of take over and just become sort of my baseline, which is stupid to, you know, I mean, that's just the way I see it. It's a dumb way to exist. I think so. Easier said than done to just shut that stuff off. It's not like I mean, if it was that easy, I would just turn it off. But, and I also wonder, here's like the old brain dump thing. So I'll probably switch around a little bit, but I feel like I operate at my full capacity with some pressure, and it's kind of trying to figure out what stress. Well, actually, I think I figured it out while I'm talking. I mean, I've already known this. It's stuff that's outside of your control. If you have no control over it, then there's no, it's according to stoicism and according to anybody that talks about personal development or knows anything, the things out of your control aren't the things you should be focusing on. You should be focusing on the things you can control. So like, what can I control is all the things that I personally do, making myself better, making my business better, reading, learning, exercise, all of these kind of things. So to get back to the whole point is like the negativity, I've just really allowed it to be front and center for too long. And so what's happening is like I'm waking up in the middle of the night, and to me that's a pretty good sign that I'm letting things I'm letting negative things and being concerned about things outside of my control. I'm letting those things take too much of a front seat in my brain, I guess you could say. So I wake up pretty much like 3:00 in the morning, and as soon as I wake up, my heart's beating and I'm sweating and I'm just stressed. I don't even want to like get into all of this stuff, but like a lot of it is pretty ridiculous. And when I wake up in the morning, Jesse and I always ask each other how we slept. And lately I've been like, not so good, or I slept okay. That's kind of the sign, the way of saying not that great. And then when I tell her what I was stressed about as I'm saying it, I'm like, it's just so stupid. Like, why? What am I going to do about that? So anyway, I guess there's a lesson here, and maybe I could share that with you. And this is something I learned from one of my mentors, Andy Frisella, in the Arate Syndicate. And it's about these negative what ifs. And, he's talked about it on his podcast also. And it's about using these negative thoughts and transforming or using them as a trigger to put you into some positive action. So that's what I'm trying to do. And actually last night when I woke up at like 3 something in the morning or whatever time it was, I thought that same thing. And I was like, you know what? This is just so stupid. I really need to get my brain I need to kind of train myself into creating that habit of when I have these kind of times of negative thoughts, I need to really get disciplined and get into some kind of positive action. So some of the areas that I know I've kind of fallen off on, I mean, one is I've kind of allowed my food habits to get a little bit off, I guess you could say. When I was thinking about it, like for me, in my brain, I was like, shit's getting out of control. I'm like eating this and I'm eating that and I shouldn't be. But the reality is just my standards are much higher than they used to be. So if you go back to, I talk about it all the time when I was fat, and I mean, fat is a relative term. I was probably 65 pounds overweight. So at 6'3", maybe that's not that bad to some people, but to me, it was very uncomfortable. But as far as my standards of what's healthy eating is really, really much, much higher than it was then. So when I say, things are kind of going downhill a little bit, it's really not that big of a deal. But it is to me, and it's weighing on me. So that's one thing that I've let slip. And then my workouts, like I'm still working out regularly, but I'm not doing it at the intensity that I think I should be doing it. So I'm letting that kind of weigh on me. And these are just discipline things. It's like you just either do it or you don't. Like, I mean, to sit here and stress about it is kind of stupid. You just do something about it and you'll feel better. I mean, I know that. I know that I feel the best when I'm on one of those programs like 75 Hard or something. I know I'm feeling the best, even though it's difficult and generally not the most enjoyable, but you're operating at a very high capacity. I believe that your brain is very powerful, and I believe in all of this kind of stuff where, you can steer your life in the direction of what you're focusing on. So whether that's, the universe and manifestation, or, you're programming your subconscious mind to make all these moves for you, because your subconscious mind is just always going and making connections and shit. So I mean, it could be a combination of all of those things, but I feel like, you know, and it's also that thermostat thing. I talked about it on several episodes, I'm sure. And I can't remember, multiple books have talked about this. So if you're constantly focusing on these negative things, then you're sort of setting your thermostat for all of that shit you're thinking about. So, you know, what's stupid too is like, cause that alone was also stressful for me. Cause I was like, shit, man, if I'm trying to focus on good things and trying to get good things in my life and make all this progress, but my brain is always on this negative shit, that I'm going to manifest all this negative shit. And then that would create more stress. So it's like this weird cycle of just like unhealthy, you know, patterns in my brain. So, I don't know. I feel like I kind of snapped out of it last night. So I just need to remember that whole, you know, really the answer, and probably the easiest answer is to form that habit of using that as a trigger to put yourself in a positive action. So that's what I'm going to try to do. So I don't know. I think that'll probably do it. I didn't really have much to talk about, but I wanted to talk about that because that's something that I was dealing with, and I'm sure other people are dealing with it as well. So hopefully that helps. And check out our community, graffitimachine.com. Click the join our community button and get some information there. Appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon.
All we ask is that you share with another person close to you any bit of positivity and anything that can lift them up, and we will have succeeded for the day.
Yeah, that would be appreciated. And fuck it.
Stay up.
All right, then.